Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the EdTech Institute. Kind of winding the institute down, but we're not done yet. We still got a lot of exciting things that we're going to be presenting over the next few hours. So we are so excited to have you here. Once again, I'm Trent Lobsher, Technology Program Specialist with the Educational Technology Department in Palm Beach County School District. We first off kind of want to do this. We want to thank everybody for over 10,000 views yesterday. I think that we've already surpassed that today if the numbers that I saw earlier are accurate. So thank you guys so much. And also thank you so much for helping us get to 2,000 subscribers on our channel. It means so much to be able to get this information out to teachers, educators here in the county and beyond. And it's just so awesome that you guys have been along for the ride and are a huge reason well, really the only reason why we've been able to do that. So thank you so much. We're still trying to get to, by the end of the day today, get 2,500 subscribers. So help us get there. Make sure that you click the subscribe button so you can get a little notification every time that we go live, and make sure that you stay on top of all that great information that's being put out there. So speaking of that YouTube channel, we also have a little section added now to the EdTech training website, specifically the part of the website with the Institute information. There you'll find the playlists of YouTube videos, the sessions from yesterday and today. And if you click that little button, there's a little button up in the top right-hand corner of those playlists. If you hover over them, and that'll take you to the playlists themselves. That little button that looks kind of like a hamburger. So if you want to review any of the sessions, this one included, this is going to be there by the time that we wrap up. It'll be added to that playlist. And so, if you missed something, chat was going by too fast, you were too engaged with, your colleagues in the chat, then you can always go back and review that. So as a reminder, yes, the live stream is being recorded and it's going to be made available directly following. And in addition to that, the YouTube channels, make sure that you're following us on Twitter at EdTechPBC, and the hashtag is the same. Tweet with hashtag EdTechPBC. Show us how you're engaging online. Snap a couple selfies, and show everybody how much fun you're having. Just a reminder that we're going to share the link to the attendance form at the end of the session, so make sure that you're sticking around. And just a reminder about the chat. Everyone's been doing so great and engaging one another and sharing ideas, and it's been completely awesome seeing everybody just get involved and ask those burning questions and helping each other out. So make sure that you do that throughout the session. And also keep an eye out for those moderators that have a little wrench next to their name. They're available to help out and answer questions as they pop up. We're going to go back to this opening question here. Let me scroll back. And to start using the chat, go ahead and read that question. Let's get the conversation going and tell us what you did during the last 2 months of that virtual classroom experience to make your classroom interactive. Right? What did you do? What did you have to figure out in order to increase that engagement and make things interactive for your students? So while you're answering that question, we've got just a little reminder there about our bot. Nightbot is going to flag you automatically if you use too many capital letters, emojis, or you spam the same thing over and over again. So watch out for that. And then stick around for some fabulous door prizes that we'll have available at the end of the session. All right. This is the second to last session of the entire Institute. We've got coming up at 3, don't miss Carla Jefferson, who's our closing keynote speaker. Sure to be a fantastic presentation. But right now, we are very, very lucky to have with us Joe and Kristin Merrill, who are author educators, and they are here ready to share some of their knowledge with us about making your classroom interactive. How you doing, Merrills?
Hi, everybody.
Hey, everybody. How's everybody doing?
Glad to have you.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
All right. Let's
take it away. It's all yours.
All right. Well, welcome, everybody. This is the interactive class. My name is Joe.
And that makes me Kristin.
We are both teachers. I am a first grade teacher.
And I'm a fourth grade teacher. We've been in the classroom for over combined 20 years. And we just have a passion for learning.
Yeah. Now, we are actually located not too far away from where most of you guys probably are. We are just located over on the west coast of Florida in Naples. So hello to everybody and hello to all of our friends. We are very happy to be with you today, and thank you for spending a chunk of your day with us. We're really excited to deliver some ideas with you.
Yeah.
So the problem in education, what is it, Kristin?
Well, that could get me down a rabbit hole. There's a lot of different problems that we have in education, but for us, we see a problem with the engagement of our students and the kids that are in our class. And this problem comes for a couple of reasons. One, they are living in a very digitally oriented world. And whether you like it or not, that's the world they live in. And their brains think differently because of that.
Yeah, that's right. So what do we need to do? Well, we need to make a change. And now maybe you've seen this. This is an example off of TikTok where the kids are changing their grades on their reports and their projects. We have got to rethink some of the ways that we're delivering instruction to our students.
Yeah, I mean, it's proven that their brains, they think in quicker snaps and chats and whatever you want to call it. Their brains can actually hold more information at one time than we do. So certain things that we may look at or methods that we may look at using, we as learners may think that they are overwhelming or they're too complicated. But for our learners, it's actually right in their wheelhouse. It's what they're used to.
Right, and if we don't rethink some of these things, this is the example what's going to happen. They're going to make the change for us if we don't. So that brings us to something called inquiry.
So there's two ways that you can change the lessons in your classroom. And really briefly, there's the what. You can change what you teach. And inquiry is a great way to do that. You can lead your students down that path of learning about things that they're really interested in. For us, we don't always, as educators, have the ability to go veer off of maybe standards or veer off of curriculum. But if you are in a school or in a district that gives you a little bit of liberty with that, inquiry is a great way to do this. And this came from Trevor McKenzie, his book, Dive Into Inquiry. And it's a great resource if you're looking to kind of add a little bit of that research.
Higher level.
Yeah, thinking into your. So you got to think of the what in that sense. You can also look at the what in terms of going outward into other places to find information.
Right, this is a screenshot from the Flickered Disco library. If you're not familiar with Flickered, Flickered is a social learning app where you use videos to communicate back and forth with one another.
I saw it on the chat. I think there are people doing
awesome. And so this is just a screenshot from the Disco library. These are all the tools that are built and integrated right within Flickered. So you don't even have to go anywhere to find these things. They're all right there.
You got Wonderopolis, you got Capstone, you had the World War II Museum. I just used this during remote learning, so now to see it on here is really awesome. You have Wonderopolis, Code.org, BBC, and they just added WeSchool, which has got a lot of conversations about race and equity and justice. So this is a great tool too if you're looking to just come up with a little bit different of the what you're teaching. But we know that as teachers, that is a very small window that we're given usually. So instead of focusing today on all of the what, let's focus on.
We thought we'd give you the whole package.
Let's focus on the how.
So the how. How do we deliver this content in an efficient way and an effective way to our students? Well, there's a few different points that we need to highlight here. The first one is choice. We're going to be talking about that. Well, actually, before we talk about that, once we go through these things, that turns the how into what a classroom in today's society would look like.
What do with this guy today? All right, so the how involves all of these things in the interactive classroom. You've got choice, movement, games, creation, collaboration, and student voice. So let me flip these slides. This guy is a mess today.
She's
oh my goodness. So we're going to go into a toolbox, and every teacher kind of needs to have a toolbox. And I was reading through some of the comments on the chat, and I think a lot of people after the last session kind of relate to this guy on the left. It's overwhelming. There's a lot going on. And so hold on and buckle up because we have a very limited time and we have a lot to talk about. So we are going to go through these really fast because all of these lessons and things are things that we've done in our own classroom. They've been tested and approved. But while doing so, understand too that your toolbox doesn't have to look like my toolbox. My toolbox doesn't look like his toolbox. And depending on the age we teach and what subjects we teach and all sorts of things like that, you may choose tools that are different from me, and that's okay. And so we try to put in as many different lessons and platforms and things that we've used, hoping that you will find one or two that you really like to add to your professional toolbox.
Right. So let's dive right into it. The first thing we need to focus is student choice.
It's a big
Now,
one.
here's a couple of examples of student choice. The one on the left, the video, is an example from my first grade classroom. What I did was I created a topic in Flickered where I wanted my students to be able to pick and choose what assignment they wanted to complete. So this was actually something that they had a week to complete, but I didn't care what they did each day, as long as they had all the things done for the week by the end. So they could kind of pick and choose what they wanted to do, and I just basically, it was more work for me to create it in planning it out than it was for them to actually get the work done. So it was a really neat way for them to pick and choose what they wanted to complete when they wanted
And in
to
the
do it.
order, just like you watch TV, you pick
Right.
the channel you want to watch. As a teacher, you get the option, since it's on Flickered, of adding video directions and things like that. And he even took it a step further, and those fun little images were from Apple Clips, which allowed him to like green screen himself into a television set. On the right is just, we all have to do certain activities or certain things, and like vocabulary, giving your students some words and letting them figure out how they want to define them, how they want to illustrate them, how they want to represent them. They could create something on them. This is just something that was thrown into Class Kick, but it can be done in a lot of different ways, just as long as the kids are given the choice kind of on how to create it or to complete it. Text sets are something that I got into last year that I really like. It's from the girls of HyperDocs, which we are going to get into in a little bit, but it's a little bit different than a HyperDoc. So the idea of a text set is kind of building that background knowledge or introducing a topic with students. So the one on the left is one that I got from someone else. I did not make it, all about Martin Luther King Jr. And the one on the right is one that I created on a book, The Last Egret, which is a book that we read in our district all about the Everglades, and it goes into history. And I just wanted the kids to kind of explore different topics related to it. You can put that essential question right in the middle. The kids aren't really necessarily supposed to create or do anything in that moment or turn anything
It's just
in.
building the
It's more of that
knowledge.
building background knowledge, but it's a great way to give kids choice while also presenting different material. And you can give choice in the material you present, like videos or articles or interactive things like that too.
Yeah, absolutely. How about choice boards?
I do like choice boards. And I put this one in too because in our book we talk about meeting kids where they're at. And I don't care whether you like it or not, kids like Fortnite. And I thought this was a really cool choice board created by Tom Spall. And basically it's this whole slides presentation. I didn't put all the slides on here. And every circle you click takes you to a different place on the Fortnite map. If you're not familiar with Fortnite, you like land on different locations on the map. And then it has like a different way to show your knowledge of that. So they're creating something, either one activity might have you doing a slides, one activity may have you doing whatever. And then each of those places also links back up to the map or the menu page. And then it let the kids see by color which tools they'd be using for those type of activities. And I just thought that was a really neat example that I just wanted to share on how we can meet our kids where they're at and still present the content that we need to.
HyperDocs is something that if you're an older teacher, maybe you've been around the block a while, think of it as almost like a web quest. Like think of like starting by kind of like that. Basically, a HyperDoc is a doc that you created with hyperlinks embedded, and it could be tasks that are embedded into there. It could be just some, like Kristin mentioned before, some background knowledge, building resources, and the kids can visit this and they can work off the doc directly.
Yeah, and so you're going to go through those 5 E's. They can explore, and then they can explain, they can evaluate, and you can create either one page that kind of bumps you out to places. The example on the right is from the HyperDocs. You have Lisa Heifel, Kelly Hilton, and Sarah Landville, and like this is not my traditional version of a HyperDoc, which is why I put it on there. It's actually created in slides, but we love book bentos. And it was just a neat way of how they walked their kids through all the different things they would need to do for that activity, linked all the resources, kind of the hot spots where they might have trouble, and then they linked it all together. So HyperDocs is another great way just to create choice, allowing your students to move at their own pace and building in those things that they may need for that scaffolding too.
Yeah. Now, with remote learning, student choice before remote learning was really easy. But once remote learning hit, it became really challenging for everybody, especially. But creating student choice in remote learning is not impossible. We actually did this using an app called Buncee. In Buncee, what we did is we actually made a virtual classroom, and we used our Bitmojis and it hyperlinked different images within the Buncee out. So, for example, you'll see my classroom there, and you'll see links to all the apps that we were using. And then there was assignments for each one of those apps that got hyperlinked out.
Yeah, and you can do this in Google Slides. This is actually where it started, was like within Google Slides. We like the app Buncee. It's just a web-based program that you can use for creation with littles. It does allow things like animations and some things that are a little bit easier than using a Google Slide, but you could totally do it in slides as well. But it was a really fun way to kind of give students choice and feel like they were in the classroom when we weren't.
Yeah, and you can get as detailed with it as you like.
Oh, some people go crazy.
Right. And I will just say, if you're trying to look for resources on how to do this, you can actually go to our website, themerrillsedu.com, and we have a step-by-step tutorial, or you can scan that QR code right there. I'll leave it up for another second or so, and it'll take you right to that link, and it'll show you step-by-step on how to create this.
Yeah, and there's lots of resources out there, too, if you're going to use Google Slides.
Yeah. Okay, centers in something called Wakelet.
Yeah, so Wakelet's an app that we've been playing with a little bit more lately. It kind of got tagged as like this curation app, like the Pinterest for teachers. And it's a really handy tool. We use it a lot as we are curating different things, whether you're curating books you want to read or recipes you want to make or things you want to do in your classroom. But you can also use Wakelet with your students. And it's such an easy drop-down platform. It has such an easy toolbar. It allows you to put in PDFs and videos and links and YouTube. And so it's very teacher-friendly. So this idea kind of is a way to use it with the students and getting the students, on it.
Right, and one of the best features that's embedded into Wakelet is the feature that's the Microsoft Immersive Reader. And the icon that you see with that little book with the speaker on it, if the students click on that, it can have the text. They can have the text read aloud to them. Or if let's say you're sharing this with maybe a student who doesn't speak English, it will translate it into hundreds of languages.
It's a couple hundred different languages. And so there's a lot of different ways to use it, but you could use it for centers. And it kind of runs in like a feed, or you could do a mood board, but it integrates, if you're familiar with Flickered, it integrates the Flickered Shorts camera into it. So you can jump in, put in your directions, drop in a YouTube read aloud like he has here, or some kind of task, and then the students can walk through, and it's almost a way to kind of like flip the classroom with your centers.
And it's easily embedded into other things too.
Mm-hmm. So again, this one goes with Wakelet too. And it's, again, just a different version of like your choice board, giving choice. What I did is, again, I use Buncee. You could use any type of slides program. And I created a little slide as one of my little blocks on my Wakelet. And all the links are live. So the kids can click into the links and explore all about the Everglades and what it's like. They can listen to my video, what the task is. And then I put a task underneath, like after exploring, let's do this, let's create, let's write. And you could have them putting it all right in that Wakelet, or you could also have them putting it into like a Google Classroom as well.
Yeah, and the embed is really easy for both of these platforms, and it just makes it super simple.
Yeah, choice is the main part. All right, so movement is another feature of an interactive class, and we know that with remote learning, we aren't able to do movement as much because we're not in our classrooms, but we thought it was still important to kind of touch on it. We don't know where we're going to be in the fall, if we're going to be in classrooms, or if we're going to be virtual, or maybe a little bit hybrid. So we're gonna touch base on it just a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, so this was an example of a digital scoot. We're a Microsoft district, but this actually, I think, oriented in Google Slides. And we created slides, and I think I had like 27 different slide activities, and I didn't have 27 kids. I had probably 20. And they all went up to a slide, and they started the slide they're doing social studies. And then when they're done, the idea is that you get up and you scoot to the next slide. So you're collaborating all in the same document, but you're getting up, you're looking at what other people wrote. You have a couple extra slides, then you do kids in case some kids work faster or slower. It's just a good way to get up and moving and be engaged.
Yeah. This was an activity that I did with my first graders. It was just working on counting more efficiently with our numbers. So I have a bunch of blow-up dice that I use, and the kids roll the dice. They calculate the total number, and then they make equations for it. This was, by the way, this was on Crazy Hair Day, so that's why their hair looks all wild like that. But it's a really fun way to get the kids moving. Now, obviously, I use technology, but you wouldn't have to use technology.
There's whiteboards.
There's just whiteboards, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whiteboards and the blow-up dice. It's just a great way to get the kids moving. And then, of course, they explain their equation so we can all kind of understand where it is. The cool thing about it is that you'll get completely different responses from all the kids, even though they might all be correct too. So.
Yeah, and I did find a dice generator on Google. It's like a YouTube video, and whenever you pause the video, it threw up the dice. So that'd be something, if you did need to do something virtually, you could still give them a little bit of choice. Yeah,
that's cool.
It would be racing though. All right, so this one, definitely you need to be in school to do it, but this was something that we did at the end of our social studies unit. We took on the show Amazing Race, and we literally created an Amazing Race game with our entire fourth grade team throughout the school. We called in parent volunteers. We had different stations and different groups, and the kids had all of these clues. And it was really fun because it was a demonstration of knowledge. Not only was it out and moving, but like if the kids didn't understand the social studies concepts and the vocabularies and the timeline of events, they couldn't solve the clues. And so it was really cool because you could start picking out those kids within those groups that were struggling. And that's an immediate area of reflection as a teacher to know what kids need more help. It was also great because it got them out and moving with each other, and it just got them moving. It was super engaging. It was one of my favorite highlights from that year.
So that kind of almost gamifies.
And like it goes right into gamify. You like what I did there?
I do like that. So let's talk about how you can gamify the classroom. The first example that I have here is something that you can actually do on Google Slides. It's called lightning problems. And again, in first grade, we're really working hard to make sure that we increase that number sense. And so what I do is I create a PowerPoint presentation, as you see, displayed on the board with an equation up there. And the kids have to just call out what they think the answer is before their opponents do. It's a really fun way to gamify the classroom. The person who gets it correct stays in, and usually gives high fives to the other friends. And then we just keep on going. And then there's usually some type of prize at the end.
Oh my goodness. So, and I have to say, I always go, oh, when I see this, because the kids that are in this video, we're going to date ourselves a little bit. They're a little bit older now, and I may have had a few of them in my class this year in 4th grade. Yes. So seeing them as little ones is just so crazy. But our own son was in first grade, and he would come home every day and tell us, I got out in the 3rd round of lightning problems. Like, it was his favorite thing. Yeah. It's so simple and quick.
And they love it.
Mm-hmm.
This is something else that we did. This is called Solve Emoji, where basically you take an emoji that represents a number, and then you just swap it out each round there. So, like, of course, you'd be looking at the school there. It obviously would be 8 doubled, just 16, and then you now know that school represents the number 8. So this is just another fun way to integrate some emojis and some fun things the kids are used to seeing into your math lessons.
And it can be adapted for any grade level. You can make it more complicated or less. Obviously, the kids are working on doubles. They're working on counting to 20 in first grade, but it's super adaptable.
Yeah, and that was also made on Google Slides as well.
QR codes. So talking about gamifying, this was something that I did a year or two ago when our district, I know that this never happens to anyone ever, but it was like towards the end of the year, and I was all excited. I had these things to do, and I got this huge box of books, and they're like, you need to read this by the end of the year. I was like, what? A whole novel? Like, I already got a novel going. So needless to say, I needed a creative way to get the kids to read the book and be excited about it. So I jumped on Flickered, I jumped on ClassCake, any app that had like a QR code generator, and I created different assignments based on the reading in those chapters. And they weren't just those like yes or no kind of questions. They were things that the kids would have had to have read the chapters to that point to be able to do those activities. And then I passed out all the books. And the next day when the kids came in, you could tell who had read them because they all were like, you put something in the book. And there's a special tape so it doesn't rip. But then it was also really good for me as a teacher because they're independently reading this book, but I could check in on the different platforms and projects, and I could see like, hey, Susie, like, you haven't gotten to chapter 3 yet, because I could tell because she didn't have anything submitted on the Flipgrid or whatever the activity was. It was super engaging. Once the kids realized there was something inside of it, then it became a game to see who could get it done first. And they loved the book. And it was just a nice way to kind of like, at the end of the year, have that fun push.
Yeah.
And then this here is just a free template of a dice. We use this a lot for different things. You could put QR codes on it from a Flipgrid response and throw it. You could put numbers on it. I've done that old game. It's not Pictionary. What's the game where you sculpt and you draw and you act all in one? Cranium. I've done the cranium symbols, and I have had my kids play cranium with it. But this is just it has
you were going like
charades.
this,
I know.
So.
But it's just a fun template that we have in our resources that we thought we'd share, and it's just easy to gamify things that way.
And if you don't get it now, don't worry. You can catch it later on. This presentation will be shared on this video, so you'll be good there.
All right, so I saw a bunch of people in here talking about Quizlet and quizzes and Kahoot. Well, if you haven't tried GimKit, I strongly advise you to try. It's very similar to Kahoot, except it was invented by a high schooler who was just kind of tired of playing Kahoot. And it's got a lot of those similar tendencies, except how is it different?
So there's lots of features in there, like including a store where the kids, as they go up and they answer the questions, they get money, and they get to spend their money in the store for power-ups. They can do fun things like change the music of the presentation.
By far, the freeze power-up is their favorite. They can freeze different players. They can give themselves insurance if they miss questions. It's just really fun. And there is a free version. I'll have to say I paid for my version because I wanted to support the kid. I thought it was an awesome way to make a change of something that he didn't like. And it's just a really fun way. I will say, though, that GimKit works well if you have a lot of questions, because what it'll do is it'll recycle them. So that is a tip when using GimKit, but it does give you reports at the end showing you question by question how the kids did. So even though they're getting them all at different times, you can be like, oh, wow, 17 was a doozy. Let's talk about this. Great tool. Check it out.
Yeah, the reason why it recycles the questions is because usually you set a time limit for the students to work
Or
on the
money.
assignment. Or
Money limit.
Right.
But either way,
So,
check it out. It's really fun.
So that's kind of like the medium ground. This would be like considered a level up.
Yes, this is a level up for gamification. So don't start sweating if this is too much.
So this was a challenge that I actually did in Flickered, but in order to do it, I recorded it in an app called Apple Clips. And what I did was I put myself in a video game.
They have like these virtual reality backgrounds that will transform where you are, kind of like when you're a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting. And this one was a video game.
Right. And so as you can see on the screen there, I just had a challenge. And what I did was I had the kids watch the video. They had to complete the challenge by writing out what they thought what the strategy looked like and what they thought the answer was. And then as I went around and I checked their board, I had them erase their answer if they were correct, and then go on to Flickered and explain how they solved the equation. So that way, if you had a kid that maybe was really stuck on one of them, they could at least see in a tutorial from one of their classmates how they solved it, and then they could try to work it out and figure it out from there. But as they were recording those videos, then what I would do is I would open up the next challenge. So like level 2, 3, 4, and 5 were all hidden responses.
And then he unfroze them. So that's one of the features in Flipgrid, if you didn't know that, is that you can hide your responses and your topics and toggle them on and off in real time.
Yeah, so it just made this like really fun math lesson where the kids were totally engaged.
Yeah, I thought it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
All right, so this is a really fun way to gamify, again, using Flipgrid. This is not my own lesson. This is actually my co-teacher, and she's a phenomenal math teacher. And what she did is she was just really tired of teaching like factors and multiples and the kids not getting it. So this was actually like one of your like entry tickets to see how they're doing. She created a digital breakout. And what she did was she gave them the numbers and find all the factors. But what she was frustrated about was that they weren't putting the factors in numerical order. So she made the passcode onto her Flipgrid in numerical order. So then what would happen is, oh, I got all my factors and I dropped them all in. But if they weren't in numerical order, wouldn't let them in. I don't know what's going on. She instantly could start seeing the hands going up and instantly knew which kids were having problems. Plus, it was this fun breakout. So she did it twice, and she then passcoded her like student ID to get in. But it was just a really fun way to kind of gamify a Flipgrid and a quick, easy ticket in rather than your normal paper ticket that you have to grade, or even just something a little different than a quizzes or something like that. Yeah.
So shout out to Ashley Stafford. You can follow her on Twitter. It is, I just had to look it up.
Staffy
Squad _LPE. Shout out to you.
And then we just also wanted to curate a list of digital breakouts that we have not done every single one of these, but this is from our friend Carly Mora. And as you can see, a lot of them are based in Google, but just a resource of places you could go to kind of go through and see what other teachers have made. We are really big on sharing. We believe that we have teachers in our just globally that have such great ideas and that we should be sharing them with each other. So we just put this here as a resource for you to kind of go, pin it, save the ones that you like. That wild robot one every time gets me. But just something that maybe would speak to you within your specific grade or subject area or age level.
So that brings us to creation. How can our students create and become the owners of the content? That's kind of
this is like my most important. I think this one's so important.
For sure. One of the ways that we did this in my class was we were learning about fiction and nonfiction stories. So I had the kids design their own book cover. I had them illustrate it out. And then what they did was they shared it on Flipgrid. And then the other friends in the class had to guess, will that be a fiction story? Would that be a nonfiction story? Or a text, I should say. And so then they got to watch the responses back. And then they talked back to their friends saying, you were correct. This is a fictional text. So it was really cool to see that. And it was neat to see all the illustrations and kind of add that art component.
And I think it is important to let people know that you are one-on-one with iPads.
Yes.
So or very close to it. So he does have that freedom. And that's how the students can kind of respond in real time and take maybe they have a fictional story cover that they wrote and everyone's saying it's nonfiction. So then they can go back and look and say, wait a minute, let me reflect on this. Why is everyone saying the wrong answer? Was I misleading? Did I forget something? So it's just a great way to use creation to show a demonstration of a standard. Yeah. This is one of my favorite apps, Texting Story. This is an iOS app, so we use this on iPad. And I love to have people, students, I love how you use one from Flickered instead of like one of ones from my classroom. One of my favorite activities to do every year is we learn about Columbus, and we really look at who he was as a person and the choices that he made, and if we think he is worthy of being celebrated and having his own holiday. It's a big writing activity we do. It ties in our social studies. And so we also do tie in some art. And so this is a lesson where we have this picture up from the time, and the kids analyze it. And then I asked them to look at Columbus and Queen Isabella and King Ferdinand in the picture. And I asked them to come up with a conversation between Queen Isabella and Columbus. What would they be saying right then? And this is a great way to see what the kids have learned, what they're internalizing, to put a little bit of their own inferencing spin on it by doing it in texting. So they text it out loud, and then it creates it as a video, which that they can then watch up. And we usually upload them to Flickered so everyone can see them.
Now, if you don't have iPads, no worries, because this is another option for you. This is just a website that you can use called iFakeText. If you just Google that, this will pop up.
iFakeText message, I believe.
Right? You can Google.
And there's a couple, yeah. I use this for remote learning. And what I had my kids do is just type them in and save the images and throw them to a Google slide. And then they had all their images on the Google slide for us to see.
Super easy to use.
Yeah.
Doing Green Screen is another iOS app, and this was a great creation app because we are able to take simple things like a green tablecloth from the dollar store, hang it up on the wall, and then the kids can stand in front of it, and now they've got a real green screen. It's really simple to use. You can use things like a poster board and paint it green, and the kids can use that.
Yeah, like a trifold board you put on the table and they can scooch down.
Yeah.
But either way, they can just take whatever they're working on and put it into a new creation. So this is a student in Mr. Merrill's class who wrote a report all on manatees, and then she wrote the whole thing. She found all the pictures. She dropped it into green screen. She
even wore that shirt on
I know,
purpose.
you like that every time. But she even she's basically reading her presentation, but in a more of a presentation form. She's reading her report and created a movie out of it. And then you can share it in all sorts. You can share it on Seesaw, share it on Flipgrid. But it's just a nice way to get students creating, and plus green screen is just fun. It's just fun to see yourself transform somewhere else. This is an activity that we did with our oldest child as just a show that you don't always have to be in front of the camera, and you don't always have to have a green wall. So this is something that he drew, and the inside of the television that's changing pictures was just a green marker. And then we dropped that into the green screen and created a green screen video. So your students could also do this. They could create the green on their platform or on their paper, and then have themselves green screened into different parts as well.
Good.
Oh, well, this is just a slide. This is just like a Google slide that we created. But we thought it'd be fun to when you do a lot of, I'm a writing teacher, I teach writing. And so trying to find ways to incorporate technology and to create a newspaper. So when you're talking about text features, informational writing, but then to have the kids green screen themselves, have the article written, and then have themselves in there talking about it. It's just a more fun and engaging way, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like it.
This was an example of a writing piece for my class. I believe this actually might have been our youngest.
I think these are our little ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we did was he was writing in first grade, mind you, an animal research report. No, I'm sorry, U.S. symbols research report. And he picked the bald eagle. So he did all the typical work that you would do in a normal writing lesson, where he did a rough draft, published it. But then when he went to publish it, the next step was he wanted to create a website, and he actually did this using Sway. But you could definitely do this in Spark Page. Just take the information from the writing and then upload that into the website. Add some images, and how awesome is it that a 6-year-old kid comes home with a website and some writing? And
let's be real, this is their language. Backstory is we have 2 children, and this year they actually were in our own classes. I had our older son, and Mr. Merrill had our younger, and he was so excited to come home. He was saying things like, "I need to show you my web page. I need to show you my web page," and he shows me the page. And there's all this new stuff on there that was not there when he was in class. And so his teacher here is like, "What'd you do?" And he goes, "I had to update it. Come on." But he was so into it. And so you could do this on all different things, Sway, Spark Page, Adobe Spark Page, but just the idea of transforming the writing into something visual and is neat to me. Okay, so this one, I don't think the audio will be on there.
No,
But that's
I took
okay.
it out.
Okay.
You
So
asked
there
me
was
to.
there was music playing. But basically, this is a paper slide. So if you're looking to do something with technology, this is a really simple way to start, because I know that we are throwing out all of these ideas. So in Florida, we have to learn about tourism in 4th grade, and what is tourism and what brings people to our state with tourism. And so this was an end of a unit project. I told the kids, I need you to show me what tourism is, why it's important, and why people come here. And they created various paper slides. So as you can see, the kids created Miami Beach, Gulf of Mexico, Disney World, all sorts of different Busch Gardens, because we talked about historical sites, natural wonders, attractions. I can't remember the 5 things we talk about. And so, body of water, like those were all of the things that we talked about, and they put it to music, trying to show that, the revenue and the money from those places is why people come and why it helps us. And this was just done with an iPad or any type of, recording device, and they just slid the pictures underneath. There's no talking to it. They put music to it, and they dropped it into Flickered for everyone to see.
You also do this really cool thing called the film festival.
I do. This is another level up. So we always do hero projects in the spring, and we try to focus on people who made a difference. And so the kids get to create some type of multimedia presentation. That's again one of our standards. So we take our writing, we do our research, and then our multimedia. And it's all sorts of things. We do black souls, we do green screen, all the things we're talking to today, videos, and then iMovie. And then the kids get a movie day where they get to be the movie stars, and I totally transform my classroom, and they have different presentation times, and we take glamour shots, and the whole school comes and celebrates the work that they've done. And it's just really important to make learning authentic, to get it outside the 4 walls of your classroom. And even if you don't do something as elaborate as this, you can start. It didn't start out as elaborate as this. It just started out as creating multimedia presentations, and then it grew. Each year we added to it, and it got bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it's like a 4th grade rite of passage.
Yeah, it is.
All right, we're going to fly through these next ones. So we're going to talk about collaboration very quickly. Now, one of the ways you can use collaboration is right within Flickered. There's something called Grid Pals. If you click on Grid Pals, you can actually find anyone in the world that's connected on Flickered, and you can actually connect with them by sending them a quick message, and you can connect your classes and collaborate globally, or you can narrow it down.
You can go to someone in your district, someone
Yep.
in your grade level. You can go globally. It's just a great way. You can kind of filter out what you're looking for, and a lot of people don't know it's there. So it's just a great thing to kind of look at and make yourself aware, familiar with.
Right. This is you?
Yeah, so this is something I did. Again, we're a Microsoft school, so we use Teams, but you could do this in Slides or Google Classroom. And I just used a simple file board. And one of the ways that we creatively got up and moving is we're talking about plays and prose and all that kind of stuff. And so we had just read that novel that I was telling you about, The Last Egret. And so I said, okay, now everyone's going to take a different section of chapters, and we're going to rewrite the whole novel as a play. And it was an awesome way not only to summarize our book, to create inferences while reading, but it also let me see if they knew the structure, the difference of the structures. And we just all did it within files, and the kids could go in live on their documents. They could comment back and forth. I could, look at it and view it. It was just another neat way to use technology collaboratively.
Yeah.
Okay, so this one is put your teacher hat on. I just want to throw this in there because I think it's important to collaborate as teachers too. And I've been letting the cat out of the bag a little bit in terms of why I've been sharing this. So I've always taught 4th grade, and I've done all the different formats. But this year, I only taught reading and writing. Actually, the last 5 years, I've only taught reading and writing. And next year, I'm going back to teaching all the subjects. So I need to brush up on some of the math and science that I haven't been teaching. And the teacher that has been teaching math and science is in the same boat. And so we've created these Wakelet collections where we are putting them by standards. And then as you find all of those great resources on Twitter, wherever it is you find your resources, your jump drive with your PDFs, you can then curate them by standard and then share them out with your team or your school or other people who teach the same subject. And just a neat way to curate and collaborate with a little bit more purpose.
Right.
And be a little bit more standards driven, because that's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. There's Skype in the classroom where it's a Mystery Skype. So you are calling out to another school, and you give out different geographical tips and hints.
Clues.
Yeah, and try to guess where they are. Think of it as like an interactive version of where in the world's Carmen Sandiego, maybe.
It's a fun way to launch a lesson, connect
with
a class, maybe a Grid Pal class you're doing.
And there's lots of information on how to get started on that available online. Just Google Mystery Skype, and you'll find all those resources. So quickly, student voice. We have an option to record podcasts in Flickered.
So you could go on to Adobe Spark.
Yeah, you can go up and you can create an Adobe Spark presentation, save the image, upload it onto Flickered, expand it so it takes up the whole screen, and then you can just do the talking behind the picture, so that way your video is not there, but your audio is. It's great for, you know, those shy and reluctant
And then
students.
all the kids' podcasts could be in one place on a topic, and you could like have a class set of podcasts that kids could listen to. They could be interviewers or guests on each other. It's just a fun way to incorporate writing.
Socrative seminars.
Socrative seminars. I love using Flipgrid in writing. This again was our Columbus debate, and so we were talking about the importance of pros and cons, and I just threw them all out there. I used the vibes on Flipgrid, and the kids jumped in and gave their points based on the different readings that we did on how they felt, and it kind of led to our Socrative seminar.
Now, if you do have those shy and reluctant kids, Flipgrid is a great tool to use because they can still share their voice. All they need to do is to cover the screen either with an image or the whiteboard, and then they can still have their voices being recorded without their pictures being in there. It's a great tool for you to use if you're trying to capture that. So that does it for us. I think we just barely did it.
I'm out of breath. We should not have put as many slides in, but I'm the one that does that. But thank you for joining us today. We know that we're towards the end of all of the great presentations. We'd love to keep in touch. So we don't really send things out too much because we are teachers and we have other things going on. But we do have a mailing list that if you'd like to join it, and we send out cool things that we either find or create, resources, all sorts of stuff you can. And like we said, we are all about the interactive class, and we are so honored that you joined us today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Trent, you're muted, buddy. Trent, you're on mute.
Thanks.
There you
Thanks. Yeah. Sorry about that. That was so much. That was awesome. There's so many resources there. I don't know where to begin. So thank you so much for coming and sharing that vast amount of knowledge with us. We're going to go ahead and first of all, thank you once again to Joe and Kristin Merrill for being here. I'll put you guys up at the end, and you can kind of have the last word. But we are going to get into awarding some prizes. So first and foremost, thank you once again to all of our sponsors, that our business partners that have come in to generously donate some of their goods for us to be able to give out to these educators here. And today we've actually got 4 prizes in this session. We've got 2 copies of the book that was written by the Merrills, the interactive class book. So we've got 2 copies to give out of that, and hopefully we're going to start drawing prizes here. I don't know if I've already missed them. So we're going to do it's 1 copy to one person, and then another copy to a different person. So that's why we're counting them as 4 prizes. And in addition to that, I'm not sure if anybody is familiar with, looks like we got a winner here for one of the copies of the books. It looks like Lynette Gonzalez is our first winner of the interactive class. Nope, not sure if second book was pulled. So we've also got 2 other prizes, and you can kind of see them on the screen there. We've got 3 licenses for 1 year for the classroom discussion parlay. Here we go. We've got another winner for the interactive class book. We've got Juanita Smith. Congratulations, Juanita. For our 3rd prize, we've got those subscriptions to Parlay, which is a platform for having discussions in your classroom, which should be really awesome to use in this interactive virtual setting. So we've got that. We've also got this a Kensington docking station. That's going to be our 4th prize, but I think we might have a winner here for our 3rd prize for Parlay, a discussion platform. Hopefully. There it is. Cheryl Maffitt looks to be our winner there for the third prize. So Cheryl, enjoy your subscription to Parlay. Again, it's a really cool discussion platform that you can use with your students and kind of get a nice, really fun collaborative discussions going, meaningful interactive discussions in the classroom. And then for the final prize, we've got a Kensington dock station given to us by Camcor. Forgot to mention the Parlay subscriptions. Those were gifted to us by Trucks. They were kind enough to give that to us. And then the Kensington dock station. This is a several $100 dock station and kind of a USB hub. And it looks like our winner here is Michelle Beer. Congratulations, Michelle. So congratulations to our winners. Don't forget that in order to claim your prizes, you've got to email Dana Rubenstein at palmbeachschools.org and make sure that that you reach out and contact her. Okay. The attendance for the day is on the screen. It's in the chat. And Nightbot's posted that to us. And so make sure that you sign in for the session. And we've got, a quick big thank you. If the Merrills are still there, if you guys would come back and join us, we want to thank you one more time. In addition to thanking the EdTech team, on behalf of them, we are so happy to have you here. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your vast wealth of knowledge with us.
Well, thank you so much for having us. It's just always a pleasure to be able to talk to fellow educators. And like we said, we talked really fast, adjourned a lot. So we apologize. We're a little worn out too. But just remember, even if you take away one new thing, that's the whole purpose of this. And
right.
It's going to be a win.
And please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions. We're at the Merrills EU, 2 R's, 2 L's, because there's 2 of us everywhere. And
on all social platforms.
all
So
social
whatever is
platforms.
comfortable for you. And we really don't want you just to like or follow. We want you to interact with us. So if you try one of these ideas and you get stuck and frustrated, call us out, ask for help, and we'll be happy to help you any way we can.
Excellent. Thanks so much. Thanks again for coming and being a part of the Institute. We appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Make sure that you join our next session. And it's our closing keynote session. So I'm sure that it's going to be just absolutely fantastic. And we hope to see you there.